So Ghana and Nigeria are a bunch of hypocrites, according to a South African politician.
I think that hypocrisy of Nigeria and Ghana has to be called out.
You know, a lot is happening in South Africa, with some involving Miss Universe Nigeria and the former president of South Africa speaking. These are all highlights here to give you all the KE city. First off, let's talk about the South African politician that called Nigeria and then Ghana hypocrites, right? That's the man that we are seeing on the screen. His name is Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndolozi, right? He is a former MP in South Africa. Right now, he is a grassroots politician, civil politician. That is what he is doing now. He has a YouTube channel where he speaks about Africa, what goes on in South Africa, you know, that kind of thing. He's a prominent person in South Africa. Now, on the 19th of August 2026, this man held a press entitled it One Love. One Africa, One Love, right? It was during this particular press that he said some things very, very important. According to him, whatever that is happening in South Africa right now is bad. He condemns it totally. Because if he looks at a country like Zambia, Zambia is a small country, but they've never had any case of xenophobia. They host a lot of countries, about 5 different African countries. People live there peacefully. But there's not been any case of xenophobia. Why South Africa?
So how can Zambians for 30 years not have a single xenophobic incident, housing over 5 countries? Zambia is a very small country. Very, very small. But they think of themselves as part of the region.
It was after this part that he said that in as much as whatever that is happening in South Africa is bad, right? Some countries are also using this particular situation that is happening in South Africa as a form of exploitation. They are trying to exploit the situation because he knows some country that were affected by apartheid. He can mention a country like Angola, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and those countries. They were affected by apartheid. But if we look at countries like Ghana and Nigeria, we can't compare our suffering to the likes of Angola during apartheid. But Ghana and Nigeria are trumpeting the fact that they helped South Africa during apartheid and, you know, that kind of thing. And they are trying their best to separate South Africa from other parts of Africa. And with that, the hypocrisy level of Ghana and their brother Nigeria must be called out.
Because there are opportunists, in my view, who exploit this struggle of explanation in South Africa, who had very less price to pay. You know, we don't get a lot of, Mama Machel, we don't get a lot of the government of Mozambique, for instance, over-condemning March and March. There's no noise coming from... I've just described the devastation apartheid caused in Mozambique, in Angola, in Tanzania, in Zambia. Hey! Safa in Nigeria and Ghana. Mobilized to work against or in favor of the fracture that March and March would have us believe must attain in South Africa. In comparison to Angola, in comparison to Lesotho, in comparison to Mozambique, they are not making noise. The approach of those heads of state understands the developmental challenges that produce the type of outbursts that you see, for instance, on the 30th, or that we experienced on the 30th of June.
You know, a Ghanaian will sing something like, He's saying that we didn't do much. The apartheid, they affect, you know, places like, he's not saying it didn't totally affect us, but comparing to those countries, we were not affected that much, and those countries are not making so much noise. But the majority of the noise is coming from South Africa, from Ghana and then Nigeria, which makes us hypocrites. That is according to him. But then while we are talking about Nigeria and Ghana and, you know, all of that, the former president of South Africa gave a speech in an interview, right? And then according to him, whatever that is happening in South Africa is actually going to affect South Africa at the long run. Because according to him, South Africa cannot stand alone. South Africa cannot survive alone. Talking about isolation. Ghana and Nigeria could not stand alone. That is why they came together. And this is coming from the former president of South Africa. He said from 1999 to 2008, just so that we know. His name is His Excellency Thabo Mbeki.
What happens if the rest of the continent says we're going to boycott South African products? What happens to South African economy? You are beating us up and you want us to buy your oranges and wine or whatever. We're not
the
going to buy
oil.
them. And all of that. So and we're not going to sell you anything and we won't buy from you. You can't survive. South Africa cannot survive outside of the rest of the continent, which is what Professor Fayemi was saying. Ghana and Nigeria could not survive without each other. So this business of attacking one another was wrong and was proved to be wrong. Same here. And I had said also, so if you know, we've got it's a genuine complaint that is being raised about high levels of unemployment is correct. It's genuine. Issues that are being raised about high levels of crime, that's correct, that's genuine. What is not genuine, what is not correct, is to say the reason we have high levels of unemployment in South Africa is because of foreign nationals. It's not.
Now, talking about Ghana and Nigeria, hypocrisy and all of that, let's talk about Miss Chidimma Aditine. That is the woman that we are seeing on the screen. Man, say, if you all remember, I brought you the Geisete about this particular lady, that around 2023, 2022, she went to Miss South Africa, right? While she was contesting, at a point, she was eliminated or she stepped down because a lot of people were saying that she is not a South African. Therefore, she cannot partake in the Miss South Africa, right? So she had to step down, that she is a Nigerian. Now, Nigerians accepted her. She went back to Nigeria. She contested for Miss Nigeria. She won. The Nigerians supported her again. She went to an international level, Miss Universe Nigeria. She won in 2024. Now, after 2024, there were videos of her saying that she loves Nigeria. She's going to be in Nigeria. She's going to stay in Nigeria. Now she's a Nigerian, you know, that kind of thing. But in 2026, we saw court battle between the same Chidimma and then South African court. And the court battle was she fighting the law to stay in South Africa. And that was the moment that the entire xenophobic attacks were going on in South Africa. So there was more or less like a collision between her case and whatever that it was happening in South Africa. A lot of people were chanting that she should just go back to Nigeria. The person that she stole the identity from was seen in videos explaining whatever that happened. These are old videos, but it resurfaced in 2026.
The same situation as Ayanda, and I found out about this in 2017 when my principal called me to his office asking if am I enrolled in another school. I was still in grade 9 at the time, and I told him no, I'm not enrolled in any school. And he said to me that in the system it shows that I am enrolled in another school. So we contacted Home Affairs asking what is happening, and they said it's an ID duplication. So what they can do for me is, if when I turn 16, I have to get a smart card, meaning that when I have a smart card and she tries to make a smart card, they will give her a new ID number.
Now, I know you want to ask me that, Light, what is the development on the case? The development on the case is that on the 19th of August 2026, the court in South Africa adjourned the entire case between Chidimma and the courts to 27th of February 2026. That is where they are going to determine whether she's going to stay in South Africa or she's a South African. There was an identity theft by her, you know, that kind of thing. So the case was adjourned. But there have been videos circulating on the internet today going viral about the fact that she was in court and there were some people booing her, you know, at the entrance and all that. This video stems back to the 19th of August 2026. Before the case was adjourned or after the case was adjourned. She was getting on Wednesday. She was getting out of the court, right? That was when Operation Dudula, if Operation Dudula, we've spoken about them before. That is Dudula, Operation Dudula, or the word Dudula means that force out. So Operation Forcing Out, were seen surrounded by the court premises, booing her, shouting that you go back to Nigeria, go back to your country, go back. So the new development on Chidimma's case is that on the 27th of February 2026, we are now going to hear the final judgment from the court, whether she is going to continue being a South African or she will go back and be a Nigerian, and are Nigerians going to accept her back. That is what we are waiting for. But every other video that is circulating on the internet right now, that South Africans are attacking her and all that happened on the 19th of August 2026. Someone is saying Ghanaians are hypocrites. Why do you say? This is Gossip 24. Kindly leave what you think in the comment section. And please do me a favor to subscribe if you've not. You like and then you share. The room is bright because my name is light. Bye.